Welcome to Rebirth Podcast. I'm your host, Shay Marriott. Listen, guys, this show is going to be absolutely important. So grab your journals, grab your pen. I really want you guys to take notes. We're actually going to be talking about building boundaries and how to choose peace in the middle of chaos when you're dealing with friends, family, and relationships. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Out of the ashes we will soar to a destiny we can't ignore. Heartbeats echo through the night with every dream and endless flight. Together strong, let's break the mold. Our rebirth and stories told. It's time to renew, rebuild, restore. Unlock the dreams we've been waiting for. Rise up higher, more and more. With every breath, a new dawn's roar.
Good evening. Happy Monday. Welcome to Rebirth Podcast. I'm your host, Shay Marriott.
And I am Corey Wilkerson, a.k.a. The Thinker. I know, I can't get used to
I love it.
I know.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I know you could be doing a lot of other things, but you chose to be with us tonight. And we're going to keep it rooted in healing. That has been our theme
2025.
Since 2025 came in. We're going to be talking about healing, staying raw and rooted in our own healing. So welcome. What's up?
Nothing much. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. How you been?
I've been good. I'm ready for the weather though, to be consistent.
It's
everything.
Yes.
2025 has
Yes.
been inconsistent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
today was a good day.
Yeah. We need some consistency.
We do.
The warm weather does my body good.
Like melt. Like melt.
I like the sun. I'm one of the few, I don't want to say few, because I believe there's a lot of black and brown people that love being in the sun.
Mhm.
But the sun is absolutely healing for me.
Okay.
It really is.
I can tell by your backyard.
Yeah, that
I can tell by your backyard.
that vitamin D. Vitamin D is
Yeah,
important.
Yeah.
So how have you been?
I've been good.
Mhm.
I've been
Mhm.
good. I'm ready for the summer to hit.
Yeah, well, we're about to go into May soon.
I know.
So a lot of things happening in May. We got Mother's Day.
Mother's
Day
Happy
is
Mother's
coming.
Day.
Yeah.
Pre-Mother's Day. Happy Mother's
That's
Day.
coming.
Yes.
What else? Cinco de
Cinco de
Mayo is
Mayo.
coming.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got any plans for Memorial Day?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
What do you
Not yet.
usually do?
Somebody barbecue?
Somebody, probably mine.
Is that what it is? If I remember correctly.
We always have a good time in the
Get late.
Oasis. Yeah, boy. Yes. Yeah, y'all. We had a good time. Absolutely. So again, guys, welcome. Before we get started tonight, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcast, but mainly go to YouTube right now. If you're not on YouTube watching us, go to YouTube and subscribe.
Yeah.
I don't want you, I know we come on Facebook a lot as well, but that might change. So I don't want you to be looking for us on Facebook when you can actually go watch us on YouTube. So if you go to Rebirth the letter U podcast, you will be able to find us on YouTube and you can subscribe. But we are on every podcast platform. So that's iHeart, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Literally, it's at Rebirth U podcast. Did you say A-Track?
Yeah, we probably own an
A-Track, DVD, VHS,
Netflix.
Yeah, right.
Tubi.
Okay. Well, I was on Tubi.
Okay. You was on Tubi. Was in the car? Like,
listen, yeah, how about that? I was my first, what is it, MIB or MI, that thing, where you're in a movie.
Like that.
Yeah. So it's called Dreams Reality.
Okay.
So I'll put it out there. If y'all haven't seen the movie, it's on Tubi. And myself and my former co-host Eli Isabel, we both were in that movie. So if you just fast forward to the car scene.
Yeah.
And then you'll hear the Rebirth. You'll hear us on
We
there.
was in the car.
Yeah, we was in the car. So again, happy Monday, guys. Welcome back. I'm so happy to be here. Again, we're happy about the weather being nice, and we just got some amazing things. I think we're gonna do some shows back in the Oasis too this summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? Why not? Why the heck not?
That's good. Wait till
Yeah.
y'all see this. I think y'all in the Bahamas somewhere.
I can't with you.
You right in New York. Oh, man.
So tonight we're going to be talking about family, friendships, relationships, and what it really takes to choose your peace in the middle of other people's chaos. So I think you guys might want to get a pen and a journal or something so you can take notes, because it's going to be a powerful conversation.
Or call your aunt, your uncle, your grandfather, your kids.
Share it with somebody that you feel needs to hear it. Yeah. So, anything you wanted to add?
I think that it's important. You know, it's funny. We've done a few shows, and I don't know when the perfect time to start the healing journey. I think we feel like we're healing, as we go through life, but it's something about when you get. I probably could say this because I'm in my 40s. People only say when they're in their 40s or beyond, right? When you get to that 40 mark, it's like you start to shed a lot of fat. Like the George Foreman, right? Like, boundaries starts to become a word that you replace with other things, right?
Absolutely.
You know, peace starts to become a common word in your iCloud of words. So you start to change out the words that you may have used in your 30s and your 20s. You start to replace them with more direct words and more personal words. So I definitely believe in that, and boundaries is a big deal. And I don't know if there's a real set fast way that we get so comfortable. It's different for everybody.
For sure. So what we're going to do, how this is going to go, we're going to just put some questions out there. We took notes because we wanted to be very intentional about this conversation.
So don't be judging me on our phone.
I will propose a question, and then we're going to have conversations surrounding it. So feel free to put any type of discussion that you would like to have in the chat. And so we're gonna go from there. So the first one is, what does the soft life look like when you're the first in your family to choose therapy over silence? Right. So are you because you've shared that you've
hold on, I got a question first.
What?
I gotta set the stage. Are you Shay, the podcast? Are you the therapist? Are you
I'm
like
Shay. I'm just Shay tonight. Yes.
I don't know, man. You turn that. You actually turn. Let me tell you something. Shay start asking questions. You just be like,
trying it. Don't start.
Feel seen.
Feel seen. That's right. That's right.
All right. So we just talking to Shay. All right, cool.
So you're first generational therapy, right?
Right.
Okay. So my question was, what does the soft life look like when you're the first in your family to choose therapy over silence?
I think that it's a lonely thing, right? And I think it's also depending on what you deal with as the reason why you're going to therapy, whether it's abandonment issues, whether it's trauma, different types of trauma. Everybody does it differently, so I think it's kind of lonely. And it's also triggering as you go through it. To be honest with you, depending on honestly what your trauma is, because sometimes you're around the people that are causing or have caused your reason for go to therapy. You know what I mean? So that could be very troubling, right? And it's hard. I think it's hard, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. So some of the things you might hear, especially when you're trying to start your own healing journey and you're surrounded by people that have not done so yet, you may hear things like, you've changed. You've changed. You think you better than us now.
Get out of here with that.
Or that's just how I am. That irritates me when people say, well, that's just how I am, or they're referring that to someone else to justify their behavior. That's just how they are. No. And we have to stop giving people a pass because that's just how they are. No, people can change if it's brought to their attention and they decide, they take accountability and decide that they want to make that change.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that statement, well, that's just how they are, like, let them be.
Yeah.
No, some people we do need to confront so they can take ownership of what it is that they're doing, especially if it's someone that's hurting you.
Yeah. Do you know what's hard about that too? Sometimes people don't walk down that path, or they start and then they go backwards, because it also forces you to make a decision. Because what if they don't want change? Right?
Yeah.
I heard somebody say before, just because you have a problem don't mean I need to change it. Right? And it forces you to make a decision to either disconnect from that person, set a real boundary for yourself, or confront, I don't want to call it your bully, but confront your own trauma, or confront your own self boundaries, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why it makes it a little difficult and eerie, to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you think that people, when it comes down to like being on your healing journey for yourself, what boundaries did you have to put in place, or did you?
Well, I think the one was this: what am I going to continue to go? Right? I think that when I first went, I was just like, what the hell? Like some of the questions that are asked, that you were going to consistently go regardless of the outcome, or regardless of the resistance that you go up against. I think it's another thing when you talk about what you're going through, you talk about going to therapy, are you going to share it out loud? Is this something you're going to share quietly? And I think that it's important that you know that you're going for yourself, not for somebody else.
Yeah.
Because that's where it gets daunting too. Like, you're going to therapy, you feel like you're doing all the right things. It's like going to the gym, and you're there for like a week, 2 weeks. You're like, I don't see no inches going off. I'm gonna go back to go get this chicken, right? Right. But then you obviously you tend to go back to doing some of the same things, or hanging around with the same people. But you have to make decisions to kind of change that outlook on your life, and what are you going to do different. And you'd be surprised how people will change based. It's not that you're changing; people change. Because you're changing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think the misconception is when we're talking about therapy and we're talking about being on a healing journey, that setting boundaries does not mean you have to be mean or disrespectful or anything like that. Like, you can set healthy boundaries and still be seen as loving.
Yeah, for sure.
I always believe it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but what if the perception of being mean is because sometimes, like you talked about being first generation, you're the first one to confront this issue in your family. You're the first one to call this out. So it makes everybody uncomfortable. Right. And once that happens, then the natural reaction is that you're shaking up the world and you're making other people uncomfortable in the family. You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to continue to just track forward regardless of what's happening, because you're the first one to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And also sometimes it's important to find that safe place with somebody that is close to you. You say, hey, this is what I'm about to go through, or here's what I am going through. I'm going to need your support through this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm a firm believer, what you do the decisions that you make in private are very different than the ones you make in public. Right. So sometimes people are willing to support and willing to jump in when it's just a conversation between us. But once Aunt Pat walk in the room, or Uncle Joan, then it's like, oh, well, I don't want to rock the boat. You know what I mean? But you have to steadfast in what you're going through and what your goal is.
Right. Right.
That's important.
I don't think you can be a people pleaser and really be on a productive healing journey at the same time, because people pleaser is always going to do the opposite of what you actually really need to do when you're on a personal healing journey, right? A people pleaser is not going to put boundaries in place. Yeah. A people pleaser is going to always choose others over themselves, right? So I think it's so important that we identify how we are showing up in our relationships, and if we are people pleasers, right? Yeah.
I'll say for me, right? And I'll ask a question.
Of course you will.
Of course I got to, right? I'm thinking it as it happened. Okay? So
The thinker.
go get Shay. Go get the therapist real quick. But what happens when you set the boundary? They're almost guaranteed to be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And you just say, you know what? I don't feel like fighting. How do you fight against the urge of the resistance? Right? Because sometimes that can come across as people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fight against that urge to, once you announce the boundary and people push past it, how do you stay grounded inside of your boundary?
You have to always choose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to choose yourself. If you don't choose yourself, nobody's going to choose that for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So only you know the boundaries that you have in place. Now, others will know if you share them with them,
Mm-hmm.
and you can share those boundaries in a loving way. But in order to stay on that path, you got to be very intentional, and you got to always choose yourself. And it's not about being selfish. I don't want people to take this and think, oh, well, that sounds like you're being selfish. No, it's being self-full, right? When you are on this journey of healing, the focus has to be on you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't interact and you can't do things with other people, but you also have to put boundaries in place for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if you cross those boundaries that you put in place for yourself, then what do you think other people are going to do?
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
So my answer would be every morning, every day you get up, you got to constantly choose you.
Yeah.
And choose your peace.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes that's difficult because we want our people around us, whether it be friends, family, coworkers, however. And sometimes people will come across and say, you know what? You being rigid. Right? Like, why are you so hard on this? Or why are you ain't fun? Or you don't let your guard down. Right? And sometimes my boundary also serves as a point of protection.
Okay.
Right? So how do we overcome that? Because sometimes, I get the people pleasing piece. I get the boundary thing that needs to stay in place. But what is the line between the boundary that is set to protect and the boundary that is set to heal? Are they two different things, or are they the same?
I think it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the same because you have to protect in order to heal.
Okay.
You know? So if your boundaries are coming off rigid, then I'm wondering if the people that you're setting those boundaries with that are receiving it as rigid, if they're people that even need to continue on in your life. You know what I'm saying? Because a boundary doesn't have to feel rigid.
Yeah.
A boundary is a boundary.
Right.
But if you're a person that's a yes all the time and you give someone a no, then no matter how soft you say it, how hard you say it, they're going to feel like, okay, you said no, and now they having an issue with you saying no.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't mean that it came off wrong. It just means that they don't like the word no. And some people don't like the word no. But if you do it enough, if you be consistent about it, people will learn to adjust to that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It reminds me of my brother, right? So my oldest brother. I tell you, he has like a boundary. He has like a no nonsense thing. He just be like, "No, I'm not doing that." Right? And everybody in the family be like, "Well, you don't really." Ain't nothing after say that to Kev. Like, it's just that's what it is.
That's just what it is.
Happen,
they already know,
right? But other people, you can kind of mix and mingle. But one of the things that I've always learned from him, he always chooses respect first. Right? You're always going to choose his respect first.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important.
It is important.
And I think it's okay that actually, right? Is it okay? What about you want to question your boundary? And when I say question, like, why do you have that in place? Like, why is that a thing for you?
What does it look like when it wasn't in place? Right? So if whatever that boundary Okay, so I will use a boundary that I have. I do keep my phone on do not disturb.
You do.
I do.
But it's all
Unapologetically,
good. I understand.
I keep my phone on do not disturb for a few reasons. One, I'm usually in sessions throughout my day, so I don't want to get interruptions. I have the important, not that other people are not important, but if my sons need to get in contact with me, it will ring, it will come through. But other than that, I will check. I will, get back to you. But my phone stays on do not disturb. One, because I am working. I am in sessions.
Right.
Two, I'm in sessions all day. I'm talking to people all day. So when I'm done, I don't want to have another conversation on the phone. I don't want to do that. Now I have to protect my peace.
For sure.
Right? Because I may have just did 4 or 5 sessions that were very traumatic. And I have to decompress from that.
Yeah.
So my boundary is my phone does stay on do not disturb. You rarely see my phone on do not disturb unless it's on a weekend. And even sometimes on the weekends, I still keep it on do not disturb. And guess what? People get upset about that. They do. But guess what? They'll get over it.
They will.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's for me. And I don't apologize for that. And I don't move the needle when it comes down to that.
As you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because people will learn to adjust to it.
Yeah.
Though, right? Like,
Yeah.
Don't do that. You see it.
Yeah.
She'll get back to me when she's
she'll
ready.
get back to me, right? Let's normalize putting our phones on do not disturb.
Except for my kids.
I think but
stop the damn do not disturb. You ever call your kid at school? Oh, you probably don't have that.
It's silence. Well, my son, that's it at Del State. His phone stays on do not disturb. However, when I text him or call him, it pops up. So he'll respond, right? So you can, arrange it where people can still get through. But I think it's important. We have to disconnect from our phones, from our laptops, from electronics. We've lost communication. We've lost the ability to socialize because we're always on the phone. Or we're always, scrolling on social media. Look how many times you sit down for dinner, right? Especially with our kids, right? What are they doing? They're on their phones, right?
I'm horrible.
Look at the young people today when you're out. Most of them are looking at their phones because it's too awkward to socialize with other human beings.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right? So we have to kind of understand how all of that is affecting us and how it's affecting our relationships and be okay with stepping away from it for a little bit. Put that boundary in place.
Yeah. I totally agree. I it's always an interesting conversation with the younger folks and boundaries. And I was having a talk with my kids, and that's always fun, right? And I always walk away from the conversation like, well, they're also in their 20s. You know what I mean? Because it's also trying to get them to understand certain things that they just are not ready to accept yet, right? Everything has to be right now, social media driven, or likes and responding and all of these things. I just be like, what? You know what I mean? So those are proper boundaries to have in place as well, right? And sometimes people will put their expectations on you, and that's not the expectation I have of myself. You know what I mean? So I think that's important.
Absolutely. Another thing that comes to mind is you can love people without losing yourself. And I know that was a big one for me. Prior, as you say, 40 kind of brings out it's like an aha moment, something switches, right? So I would say prior to before I got married, even in the relationships that I was in then, even in my marriage, I felt like I loved those people more than I loved myself. I honored them more than I did myself, right? And in that process, you lose who you are. Or at that age, I didn't even discover who I was at that point, right? So not only I'm not knowing who I am, but what I thought I knew, I was losing that, right? So being able to say that you can love people without losing yourself. How do you do that? How do you love someone without losing who you are?
Yeah, I would say, so I'm back to this book.
Let them.
Right. And I think you have to allow people to show up and be the person that they want to be in the moment that they want to be. One of the eye-opening chapters, I recommend everybody actually read the book. One of the eye-opening chapters is like chapter 2, and she was talking about how her kids were getting ready for the prom. Her son actually was getting ready for the prom, and how she was worried about what he was wearing, the corsage for the girl, and how she went and bought one because she knew he wasn't going to pay attention to it. It wasn't something that he was even thinking about, and he's wearing sneakers with his suit. He's like, okay, well, I'm just going to get the corsage. He's like, Mom, I don't need you to go get it. I'm fine. She doesn't want one, right? So she goes and buys it anyway, right? So they get to the house where the girl is, and she says, hey, can you help me pin if they put it on the guy, right? She said, can you help me pin? So she goes over to help him pin, and she pulls out the corsage for the girl.
The boutonniere.
Yeah. She pulls it out. And you can see the everybody's face change. And she said, if I would have died if my son's look, he would have just killed me. And what happened was, I think her mother or the girl's grandmother or mother made one for her to wear.
Oh, okay.
So when she pulled it out, it was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just wear one since you bought it.
Okay.
And the whole point to that was she gets to the place where she's like, hey, well, they didn't even have a reservation for dinner. They were going to go to like this taco place. It holds like 5 people, and it was like 25 of them. And she was so worried about, she's calling, making reservations. And her daughter pulled her to the side and says, you're robbing them of their experience. They could care less.
Yeah.
Let them go out in the rain. Let them cram into this taco place.
Yep.
You're stressed out or worried about it.
Yeah.
Let them have their moment.
Yeah.
Right. And she said, oh my God. And once she started implementing that inside of her life and just let people be what they want to be.
Yeah.
It took a lot of stress off of her. Right. Because we do it as parents. I'm totally guilty of it. Right. They're not even stressed. We are bugging over this reservation, and they don't care. Right. So we have to allow people to be them. So I think that would be the thing that I say. I find myself saying it out loud, like, let them.
No. That's good, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right. As parents, we do that, and a lot of times, well, some of the reasons why we do that is because we're trying to live out our childhood, or the things that we missed in our kids. And this is a whole different time.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? A whole different time. It looks totally different, right? And we gotta be aware of that, even when it comes down to sport. A lot of parents force their kids to play 3-4 sports a year. A year. On top of doing schoolwork, right? So why? Well, because I didn't get a chance to do this, and I didn't get a chance to do that. It's not about you. It's about your children. Did you ask Johnny? Did he want to play soccer? Did you ask him if he wanted to play football and basketball and take karate? Right. So we got to be mindful of that.
For sure. And it was a big eye opener. So I'm on chapter 6 or 7, but it's a good book. But sometimes we just have to let people be people, and also give ourselves permission to be ourselves. Which is another big one.
So, absolutely.
Put,
So just because they don't understand your growth doesn't mean you owe them a smaller version of yourself.
At all. You do not.
That's a whole word.
You do not. That's important, because I think that when you go back to like the people pleasing thing, it's naturally for us to just, you know what, it's only one time. Or it doesn't matter, or I'm gonna go do this and go do that. I'll always align it to, I would rather have the respect that I want, as opposed to settling for where you need me to be. Because the version of you that you're expecting, or what you're asking me to do, or what you need me to do, is me aligning to you. When you're not willing to necessarily align to me. Right. And we need to challenge people and have that conversation. But I think the bigger thing, I have this thing where I always talk about, you got to go get the root of the issue. Right. Sometimes people will dance around the root of the problem,
and sometimes people don't know what the root is.
And sometimes it's like, you know what, here's the thing. So I'm not a weed person. Smoke, never have.
I could have sworn I saw you with a blunt.
Nah, not me. So I smoke, nothing, right? Just never have. Never been a thing for me. But one, because I was a basketball player in school, right? So that was a thing. I was like, you smoke, you can't breathe, you can't run. That was just a thing for me. Then the other piece, as I've kind of just went through life, I've seen what it's done to take away from people. It's the most legalized unlegal thing that you see. You get caught with it. It's always a problem, right? And I just made it. That's just not my twist, right? And people just like have a hard time believing that, right? And I don't. It's just not something that I don't judge you for doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't need you to push it on me.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that is just a boundary. But when you grow up in that environment and people are doing it, this is a thing. It's very easy to say, let me try this. Right? Let me see what it feels like. Oh, it's gonna make you sleepy. It's gonna calm you down. It's probably gonna make you hype. How about I just be me?
Because it affects everybody differently.
Exactly. Right. So I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I get a chance to just watch you be you. Let me be me.
Yeah. But then you take that, something like that, right? So you think about, the kids today, right? Now we're in an era where it is legal, right? And everybody do it. Like sometimes parents would come in. I remember when I was seeing kids in adolescence, you'll have a parent come in and they'd be like, oh, such and such is smoking. They smoking weed. And I look and I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. I don't say that to them, but I'm like, okay, right. But the parent is like, they're gonna, they're not gonna be nothing, and it's like, no, we're in a whole different time now, right? So when we were growing up, that was just not the thing you're supposed to be doing. People getting locked up and all of that. Now in this generation is different, right? So it looks different. But if you have parents that's my age or older. Their experience is, no, that's not something that you do. You're on drugs. All hell is going to break loose. Everything, So how do you set a boundary? How do you do that when everybody around you has normalized it, especially the kids that are in college and stuff like that? Everybody is smoking or is doing some form of marijuana. How do you coexist with that? By setting a boundary.
100%.
Right.
You know who got me to see it differently?
Who?
You.
Oh Lord, I don't know where this is coming from.
I still don't smoke, but I think that we had. I think we were like on one of our walks.
Yeah,
and it was a conversation that we had, right? And it's just to see it differently and being able to educate yourself on it.
Yeah,
and it, to your point, it used to be a thing that when I grew up, my mom would flip out. If she caught my
pause for a second. I just to put it out there, I don't smoke. I don't smoke.
Even saying that.
I don't smoke marijuana, but however, I do understand.
Yeah, right. So but it was the thing to educate yourself and say why. What are the different uses for it? Because, like, to your point, I grew up, it was a problem.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I remember the arguments with my mom.
Right.
But people do it for different reasons, right? It doesn't always have to be smoke. It could be a gummy. It could be different things that you do. Yeah. And sometimes people use it for different things. It's not just about, I want to get high and look all stupid. And crazy,
absolutely.
Right? So once you become educated on the why, and you humble yourself to teach yourself something different or allow yourself to see it differently, you will accept, maybe it's the therapy differently. You will accept why somebody is creating a boundary differently. Sometimes you have to ask your question and educate yourself as to why this person is showing up that way. Because the boundary, what's behind the boundary, could blow your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you're like, you know what? I get that.
Absolutely.
I get that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
well, thank you. I'm glad you found something
valuable
out of our walk.
Absolutely. valuable.
So one of the things too is your healing might be the mirror. We talk about our friends and our family. Sometimes our healing is the mirror that they need to see, and they may not accept it in the beginning. They may not, but if you're consistent and you're consistent with putting boundaries in place, you never know who you may inspire.
Yeah.
Right. Nope. I have this quote. It's by Gandhi. It's over top of my bed, and it's be the change you want to see in the world. Right. It starts with you. And anything that you do, it starts with you. If your relationship is not good, something's happening, you change. Yeah. Don't focus on what that person needs to do to change. You change, because when you change, they're going to see that, and that's going to inspire them to change.
Agreed.
Right. And you can't put a time frame on when people decide they're going to do that. Yeah. So, but you be the change. And that's in anything, rather it's relationships, rather it's at work. You be the example. You change how you show up.
Yeah.
And it's contagious. Others will start to change.
Yeah. I remember someone was telling a story about going to work and how does nobody spoke and said hello. And like, what is that? Like, people just don't speak. And I think the advice that was given to them was, you start speaking.
Yeah.
Be the change that you want to see.
Absolutely.
And then people will start to just change that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I had to try that. And it definitely does work, but it definitely does start with you.
Yeah.
Definitely start with you.
It starts
and
with
be proud of the changes that you're making.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. You know, sometimes we hide and we don't want to talk about it out loud, but we have to be able to share it with, I just believe, share it with one person and watch what happens when you do that.
Absolutely.
They could just be waiting for someone to take the shot.
Yeah, for sure.
You do it and they start asking questions. Well, what is this about? Or what is that about? Right. And you'll be surprised how that blossoms into a group of people that are just educating themselves and changing. So I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think to wrap things up, you know, again, we've been on this theme of healing. So I challenge you. What is it that you still need to heal from?
Yeah.
Look at yourself in the mirror. Get naked with yourself. Be honest with yourself. What are the things that you're tired of feeling? Let's start there, because people sometimes be like, "Well, I don't know." But what is it that you're tired of feeling? Right? That might be sad. That might be, I'm tired every morning when I wake up. I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? What is it that you're tired of feeling? What is it that you're tired of experiencing?
Yeah. Because I think that's the pathway to your boundary, right? Sometimes people shy away from the words healing and therapy and all of these things that make you feel like you're something's wrong. But like, I just don't like that. And here's what that looks like, right? And start that way, right? When you go out and you're socializing, do you feel like you always have to have a drink? Maybe I don't want to drink. Right. I don't want to. I'm just going to drink water today. Right. But what are some of the things that you just like, I just don't want to do that right now. Yeah. Right. And just start there. Yeah. I think that's a powerful question. What are the things that you want to change, or what are the things that you don't like? Yeah. Absolutely. Because technically the only thing you are in control of is you. Yep. You're not in control of anybody else, and we have to be okay with that, because a lot of us we think that we are in control of certain things, and you're really not. Yep. There was a word that came across today. I was listening to the radio, and I think it was on oh gosh, what's the girl that was on the Breakfast Club? Lauren LaRosa? No. All the way up with Angela Yee. Yeah. She had the young lady, I should say. Yeah. She had I think her name was Dr. Judith, that was on her show. And she's doing a lot of research on high functioning depression. High functioning depression, and that really resonated, because when we talk about depression, we look at it, I could tell you what the DSM-5 says, what the criteria is to meet depression. But in today's world, it doesn't look like that anymore, right? So that high functioning, meaning I'm getting up every day, I'm going to work, I'm taking care of my kids, I'm doing everything that I need to do, but I'm still depressed. 100%. I'm still depressed. But because I'm not in the bed, because I'm not, haven't taken a bath in a couple of days, or brushed my teeth in a couple of days, or I'm overeating, or I'm not eating, because it doesn't look like that, then it's not deemed as depression. Right? So there is this thing that's called high functioning depression. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are walking around with it and may not even realize it's like it. They call them like functioning addicts. Right. Absolutely. You know what I mean? They absolutely come to work every day, do their thing, or show up every day. Yeah. But they're also tied to that result. Yeah. And that can create a sense of depression. Yeah. Think about how many people that we would deem are successful that are checking out. Yep. Right. Yep. I just seen the story about last name was Lacey though. Young man, I think it was LSU, 24 years old, headed to the draft in 2 weeks. Killed himself. Oh, Jesus. Wow. Right? Headed to the draft in 15 days. Wow. Right. And when I read that, I was just like, wow. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a lot. Yeah. But he's top prospect. Yeah. And that's pressure. Yes. That's the thing. That's pressure because this young man, and I don't know his story,
But for something like that to happen, this young man probably spent a lot of time just in preparation to get to this point. And now I got the weight of the world. I got to carry my family on my back.
Yep.
I got to live up to all these expectations that's from the draft on to being pro. It's a lot. And if you don't have the proper therapy, come on.
Yeah. Or circle around you, or like we're talking about boundaries.
Yeah.
Say, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to set myself apart. Or a relationship with God to say, you know what? I need to go talk this out. I need to go do something different.
Yep.
All could fall down.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So,
so the moral of the story, guys, is basically like self-preservation is important. Yeah. Choose you every time. Choose yourself every time when it comes down to your peace, when it comes down to setting boundaries, when it comes down to wanting to live a happier life. We always hear people say, I just want to be happy, but it's not that you wake up one day and everything is just happy. Yeah. Like when you ate dinner, the food was good. Were you happy when you were eating? That is a happy moment. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're sitting here having a conversation. We're having a good time. I feel good in my spirit. Do you feel good in your spirit? That is a happy moment. No. So my point is, life doesn't always look like everything is going right every day, all day. But we got to take joy in the happy moments.
And sometimes you have to show where you messed up. I think we forget, especially in the world of social media, everything looks perfect. Everything looks fun.
And right? That's bull.
And it's bull, right? So
that's bull.
Funny for me. So like I jump rope, right? And sometimes I post the videos, sometimes I don't. I used to edit out when I would mess up, and I stopped doing that.
Because you want people to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm not. Yeah. I just started jumping rope again. I'm not like I'm not Rocky, right? But I had to show that I messed up, or I got tired. So I just made sure that I added that in the video, but that was something that it's made sense. Like, why the hell am I editing that out? You know what I mean? So sometimes we have to just make sure that we're more alike than different. And some of the things that we go through are the things that pull people out. That's the core of the issue. But we don't see nobody else doing it, so we just gonna tuck it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
That's something I would share.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So we're gonna leave you with this. Again, I have to go back to that question. What is it that you're tired of feeling? What is it that you're tired of experiencing? Set that boundary for yourself. Make the choice today. Self-preservation is important. And when it comes down to family, friends, relationships, your peace should be non-negotiable. Your peace should be protected at all times. And remember, a healing journey, there's no destination to that. There's no end to that. You're always going to be healing from something, from someone, or whatever, right? But the important thing is that you're on it, that you're doing it, you're doing the work, you're intentional about it. And in order to be able to reach the place that you want to reach, you have to put boundaries in place, and you got to be okay. But boundaries doesn't have to feel rigid. Yeah. Just because you're setting a boundary doesn't mean you have to be mean or non-loving. Right. You can be loving and still set a boundary, right? Okay. So again, we thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Before we go, we want to let you guys know what's happening in the community. We like to take time, to showcase some things that's happening in the community. First up, we have the Maternal Burnout Support Group. Okay, guys, so this is important. This is a virtual group. It's going to be starting May 10th. So there's 4 sessions. There's May 10th, May 24th, June 7th, and June 21st. This is a 90-minute virtual session, and it's the investment for all 4 groups is only $100. Okay, so you see the QR code on there. You can scan that, and that will take you right to the registration. All right, so you're going to have 4 live sessions with therapist-led sessions focusing on real, honest conversation. And this is a judgmental-free place. Come on, moms. I know I've been through it. I know there's times where it's hard, right? So whether you're parenting a little one or you're parenting teens or even you're some of us are parenting young adults,
Yeah.
right? We all experience burnout, and it's okay. So let's normalize that. Okay. So that group is going to be starting May 10th. Scan the QR code and get registered. That's at the Center for Child Development and Amani Healing and Therapy Center. Next up, we have the Cinco de Mayo Spring Festival is happening May 3rd. Okay. And that's free at Shoe Medill. I always say this wrong. Shoe Medill Middle School. That's on 1500 Capitol Trail. So make sure you check it out. There's going to be vendors there. There's going to be food there, soccer, all types of games, and it's absolutely free from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. All right, and last but not least is the African Day Food and Cultural Festival at Tubman Garrett Riverfront Park. That is Saturday, May 24th. Rebirth will be in the park. I was going to say in the building, but it's outside. But we will be there. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's absolutely free. For more information, go to Africa Day 23 at Yahoo. I keep wanting to call it Yoo-hoo. I think I'm gonna have to go buy me a Yoo-hoo drink. Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much for spending the night with us. We appreciate you. If you have not done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to tonight's podcast.
Absolutely.
Any last words for you?
I like the question. That might be a shirt.
Okay.
That might be a shirt.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But invest in yourself, invest in your boundaries, and invest in your peace. That's what I would say.
All right, guys. On that note, have a blessed night. I'll see you next Monday.
Woke up this morning, sun so bright.